Today on our webinar, again, we're going to be going over the records on the managing credits and experience. So I sent out to you two documents, one managing credits and another managing experience. And I'm going to be going over these today with you to help you learn or enhance your knowledge about how to use these tools in the employee records system. I do have you not muted so that you can ask questions. If you need to, you can just say stop and ask me, but I will be stopping at certain points to allow you to ask questions. So because of that, please be mindful of any background noise, or I can mute you if needed, or you can mute yourself. Okay, so we're going to start with the document of managing credit records. So obviously we're logged into our system, and here I'm on our demo system. The very first thing that I want to show you that all of you have on your system, and I'm going to make this screen a little bit bigger for you, is the resource tool. So under Management Resources, the documents that I emailed you for this webinar, along with other documents, are sitting right here on your resources page. So the one for managing credits, managing experience, and even the how to import credits, those are all on your resources page, along with other documentation. So as we release documentation for this system, we'll put it here, and of course we have instructions on the screens. If you ever need additional information or instructions, you feel it's not here, be sure to email support@hrmplus.com. And just a note on that, we do have multiple staff that manage the support desk. And although some of you may get used to working with one of us or another, we do take vacations or are gone like I was the last 2 days on site at Monroe. So it's always a really, really good idea to email support@hrmplus.com for assistance. That ensures that you will get the fastest response. Okay, let's get going here with managing credits. So to do that, we're going to go into the search tool and find out how do we access an employee's credit screen. Some of you that are on board are pretty new. Some of you have been doing this for a long time. So you'll come into the search screen and you'll look for the employee. You can leave this on the interest of any, or you can narrow it down, or you can look for a person by name. Either way you'd like to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and click search. And on the first page of the document, we're showing you how to edit a person's record. So I'll do our little Mary Abbott sample person here. And again, on the documentation, it'll show you a sample of what happens when you go to the credits screen. So we're going to click on the credits tab here. Later, we'll do the experience tab. And on the next page of your document, you have a full-on explanation of everything on this page, which includes now that you can see their name and their position and their assignment if you maintain that information, the instruction for how to use the system, your help icon. You have an instruction here about flags. So when you enter a credit, you may see a number appear in this asterisk or flag field. That's just a warning for you that the credit is either, if it says 1, a duplicate course number, 2, a credit prior to the BA date, 3, a clock hour that's less than 3, or 4, a course number less than 100. And then depending on the rules that you follow, you can look at that course and say, ooh, should I really be recording it? Obviously, a duplicate course number can happen because you have EDCU 411 from one institution and also from another institution. But if it's from the same institution, the general rule is repeat credits can't be counted in the academic bucket. You have to convert them and flip them to clock hours. So these are your little warning buttons that you have, or warning flags in this column. And then we have next the type of employee, so certificated, classified, coach. So if you want to record credits for classified, you click this button, or for coach, click this button. I will note that if you're recording coach credits, typically you don't record them from coach for somebody who is a teacher, who already is a certificated person. Because when you record a certificated credit, you have the option to say, oh, yes, this is also a coach credit, and it will automatically appear in both sides. But sometimes you have classified coaches that you just want to record their credits in that regard, and you can click the coach button. Okay, and then I'm going to go on and just show that you have the placement. Now, if you were on classified or coach, you wouldn't see a placement because the system doesn't auto-place their salary schedule, but it does for certificated. And then we have the Add Credit button, the cutoff, which comes from your work area table, so you can choose which year you want to calculate. You can even go back to another year and hit the calculator button, and it'll recalculate what the credits were for that year. So you can do that at any time. And then you have a grid that shows your total credits. So in this case, the person has a master's, so you don't see the BA totals. But this is your BA A, or academic credits, IS, in-service credits. In-service would include clock hours, non-continuing credits, the non-transfer credits, anything that goes in the in-service bucket. These are your non-degree credits for your high-degree voc only. For vocational people, all credits must be recorded as NDC if they have a high degree of V, and those credits will show here. And then a BA total, and then the same thing for if they get the master's academic, the master's in-service, the excess 45 of the number of credits from the BA to the MA total, and then their grand total, all credits. So you have that information. And over here to the right, we have two PDF icons for reports. One will just simply sort this data by date. One will sort by institution. This allows you to export this data to Excel. We're getting a little more friendly with each other so that as teachers or certain staff move from one district to another, we can send that data to another district. And so if you have someone being hired by another district, it is a nice friendly thing to do to export this out to Excel and send that to them if you can do that. They may have to reformat that file to load it into their system, but it can be done. And later on, I'll show you how if you receive one of those files, you can load it into our system. And then you have a calculator button to recalculate. And then this is a new field, a new little icon that you haven't seen before that's going to give you direct access to the institution table, and I'll be demoing that. So all I've done so far is give you an overview of what's at the top of this screen, and then you see the grid below with the various fields that are maintained as the credits are recorded. So I'll just stop momentarily and see if there are any raving questions that I need to ask before we go into adding a credit record. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and add a credit record here. Now to add, I can either add or I can copy. If you copy, it will just appear on the screen, and then you can click the pencil and edit it and finish that. But I'm going to go ahead and add one from scratch, just so you can all see this. I know several of you have already done that, but start date is an optional. You can choose to use that or not. The end date, you can use the calendar if you'd like, or you can put in the date that it might be. So I'll just put in June 30th, 2018. And I'm going to put in that it's coming from Washington, since I mostly have Washington people on today. And I'm going to put in that this credit is coming from Seattle University. So I just select that. And when I do, the system knows that Seattle University is a quarter-hour system by default. So if this happened to be a clock hour that came from Seattle U, because they do have those, you would need to change the credit type to clock. But I'll go ahead and put in a course title. I'm just going to put in testing today. And then you can put in your department, so test, and your course number. And I'm going to go ahead and put in course number 099 just for the heck of it so you can see what a flag does. Your course approval, which you'll either have set up as numbers or letters. Just select whatever's appropriate. And then you have the number of, I skipped over here, the number of credits. So I'm just going to indicate it's a quarter, it's 2 quarter credits. It automatically puts in today's date is entered, or you can modify that. Then you can check if it's STEM or if it's TPAP, either one, to indicate that. If there's any reason that you want to record this credit but exclude it, you can certainly do that. It will not record it in the total, so that's completely up to you. And then by default, these, if you're uncertificated, will come up as a certificated degree credit. Credits recorded for coaching are marked as coaching, and for classified are marked other, just so you're aware of that. So that'll come up that way. If this were a coach credit, all I'd have to do is select the coach criteria that it goes to, which of these is this course legal or medical or whatever it is. And when I save that record, it will then also appear in the coaching record. So with that, I can just save this record, and it's going to appear then on the screen. And since I just recorded it, it will be right here. Notice that it got a flag of 4, so I can go right here and go 4, course number less than 100. Voila, there it is. Yep, it was 099. Oop, I goofed on when I saved that record. And so I can go back in and change and edit. So you can edit any record that you already have recorded. And again, I can also copy a course if I want to copy one. So I'll just copy this one down below here. This is handy when you're recording multiple credits for the same course. And you can notice that it will always say enter title. That's how you can easily find it. So even if you were copying one that was on page 3, you can use the filters up here and just go enter, and it will find anyone that's enter title so you know where your new one is. And I actually had 2 because I've been demoing this system. So just in case I had one that I had missed doing, you can look for that enter title. It would be missing a title. And this little filter you can click on to change to begins with or contains, and that's how the filters work. So now I can go ahead and this one that I created, I can go ahead and change the title to that. So go in here and enter, test 2 or whatever it is and save it. And then since I filtered to that, I would want to click the little green icon and refresh my screen so that I'm back to everything. And then when I'm totally done, I can click the calculator so that it will recalculate my credits. So entering credits in the system is pretty easy. What's a little more difficult if you're from Washington is understanding the rules for what credits you can record. If you've attended the recent 275 workshops, you will learn that information because there are certainly pages and pages of documentation about which credits you can record. Are they an academic credit? Are they an in-service credit? There's lots of dates and rules to know about that. But when you've made that decision that you can record a credit, this is how you can record it in the system. Now I do want to show you one other example of how we might use this little institution table here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Credit. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go, oh, I got an institution from this Florida inner whatever, and I've looked at the transcript and it says it's accredited, but I wonder if it's even in our system. Why start if it's not in the system? So what I can do is pick the state, Florida, and then I can come over here and I can click in the drop-down box and it's going to show me everything for the state of Florida. But I can also either scroll down, or maybe this is Florida International or something. I can look here and go, yeah, well, there's Florida, but the one I want is not here, okay? Maybe it's Florida Western College, and it's not here. Dang, I need to record that. Okay. Before this most recent update, you had to return here, leave the screen, go to System Manager, look up tables, institution table, and add that institution. You no longer have to do that. You just come right here and click on this link, which is a link to the institution table. And it will pop open, and you're going to find the list of institutions. You may need to scroll up, like I have my screen pretty wide open right now. And then on the institution, you can use this filter if you want to say, like, contains Florida Western, just to make sure that it's not already in there. Now, I'm just doing on Western, so I'm probably going to get a lot of them. But I could say contains contains Florida, and it would show me those just to make sure I'm not creating an institution that really already exists. But once I determine that Florida Western is not in the system, and there are 2 pages here, so I definitely want to kind of look through and be careful, then, I mean, it doesn't hurt if you add another institution, but it's a good idea to not, so you don't have duplicate records. Then I can just go add a new institution. And this information is in the document that I handed out to you, but I wanted to show you how simple it is. There are a lot of fields here, but basically all you have to do is put in the institution name, Florida Western, Florida Western University. I'm going to not complete this because that's a fake one. And you have to put in the state code. So you need to pick Florida. And then you need to put in the default type of credit it is. So you could tell from the transcript if they're a semester or whatever. And you save it. And then you can use it right there in the system. So this icon allows you to not have to jump back to the document to do that. Now I'm on page 4 of the document I handed out to you, which is showing you that institution table and how we can access it directly from here, or you can go to System Manager and do it from there. So you can see how easy it is to access your institution table. I do want you to be mindful on this institution table because I get districts that do this. The ESDs, or Educational Service Districts, check and see how they're in your system. They might be in as Educational Service District, and so you go to find it and you go, well, Educational Service District, nope, it's not in. I'm going to add it. Double check because all of you have ESDs in. It might be in as ESD like that, so it does already exist. So that's an example of why I suggest that you check your institution table before you add one. Okay, so on page 5 of your handout, it does show you that institution table if you open it and look at it if you want to add an institution. So I'm going to go ahead and open that again. And I'm down to page 6 of your handout where it does show all of the fields that you need to enter, but just the ones in red. So, oops, I missed institution. So you would pick the institution type. Is it a college, a clock hour, what is it? So in that Florida Western, I would pick college. Provider ID is just if you want to put an ID number in there, maybe it's something associated with another system or something. You put in their name, optional address, city, postal, all that, but the state does need to be populated, so you need to select that. Optional phone numbers, emails, and then the credit code, and save it, and you're done. For most of you, all of these institutions were brought over from your old ERM system, and that's why they exist in the institution as they are today. Okay, I'm going to stop real quick and see if there are any questions about just flat out adding a credit record and or modifying the institution table. Questions? You're all so good. Okay. In your handout on page 7 is also a copy of the credits table. And because that table is so significant in the system, in order to change it, you need to go through our support team. But in this table, as you can see on your page 7, I'll just bring this over here. This table does give you codes for your clock, for your credit types. It gives you the factor, so like a clock hour is 0.1 of a whole. And then it gives you the quarter is 1, the semester is 1.5, the type of credit, and then the credit classification and the credit exchange code. This exchange code is very important for those of you that use our professional development system to manage your clock hours, and you don't have to enter those clock hours in the system. So when you do that, you also may choose to load those to another fiscal system, Business Plus or Westpac, Skyward, or other systems. This is the code that would be in that system, so we use that for loading across. So we do have clients that are, quite a few of you on board, that are using ProDev, and when you post credits from there, all your clock hours automatically appear over here, so you're not having to actually one by one enter those for all the clock hours completed in your district, which saves a lot of work. So we'll go on now to the next page in our handout, which is going to talk about the course approval table. So let me take you there just so you can see when I'm talking about tables. So anytime to access tables, you're going to go to System Manager, look up tables, and then you're going to be in one of two categories, either your employee tables, which are just specific to the employee system, or a shared table. And since the course approval codes are also used in ProDev, it's a shared table. So you may have yours set up as a letter or a number, but either way there will be a short description and a long description of the course approval codes. So should the state come through with another one, like how they added teacher evaluation, TPEP stuff, you can just come into this table and add it anytime. Okay, so we kind of reviewed the tables that are associated with that. We've got one more, which is the work areas. So you remember when we were doing credits, we had a cutoff date. So each year, as you get ready to do another year, you set up your work area. And you can actually set up your 2019 right now. The last one I'm using is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and set up work area 5. And then I can put in my year. It's going to be 2018. It's going to be 2019-20. Wait a minute, I can't believe that. Yes, it is. And then you can put in whatever description you want. A lot of districts only use this as their description because that is what populates in contract documents and other reports, or you can go on to make a longer description. And then this is your fiscal year, so usually it would be 2019 to 8/31/2020, not really used for anything other than a description. The basic and residual and this try, that's all for Vancouver ProDev. So you will only do the experience cutoff, which would be August 31. Oops, got to be able to type, sorry. August 31 of 2019, and the credit cutoff 10/1/2019. And save it, and your work area is ready. Now for next year, you're going to need to, oh, look, when I typed, I put in 18/19. You should have hollered at me. No, I'm going to come in and fix that. You're now ready to go ahead and set up your salary schedules and calendars in anticipation for next year. But that's how easy it is to do the work area. And we'll send you out a reminder, and we'll have a webinar later on about setting up the new year. So all of that information is there. And then lastly, in the employee tables, we do have defaults. And this is where you'll set things like rounding, which definitely affects how your credits round. Some of you round credits to the 10th, and some of you rounded out one more. So in this defaults table, you set your rounding. So here's where you round your credits or your experience, and you can round an individual item to, or you can round the total. Some districts have this set to 2 or 1, but you can round your FTE, your hours, all of that. Your rounding is in here, and that would affect your credit calculations. So on page 10 is a snapshot of this table and these fields so that you can know what to populate in that field. Okay, I'm going to go on now in your document to the next page. So just it should look like this on page 11. And in page 11, I've already really covered how you just enter a particular credit into the system. So the next thing we have in our document is going to switch to, hey, can I mass load credits in the system somehow? Yes, you can. So I'm at the top of page 12 in your document. I mentioned already for those of you that have ProDev, yep, once they complete their course, you have a little tool that you just post that credit and they're all over in this system. But there's another way that you can do that too. So under Management Utilities, let's take a look at that. Some of you may not have used this yet. You have 2 ways that you can actually load credits through the Management Utility function. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to the credit screen. And basically, one option is using all of the screen, and the other option is just select a person and import credits. So we're going to use the option that would take information for a particular class. So for some reason, let's say you have 5 people that went to the same class. Instead of going to those 5 people, you would fill this screen out just like you were filling out an individual record. So you would put in the end date of the course, whatever it is, the state, the institution, whatever that is. I'm just picking one here. A department, ed, whatever, a course number, title, test, number of credits, for credit type, whatever it is. Put your course approval code in. Usually it would be current assignment. Note if it's STEM or TPEP. So you have that in. And now you can come over here and select those 5 employees. So you would just continue to pick names and pick names and pick names. And so when you have your 5 people selected, then you click Select Employees. Now if you want to, you can pick everybody at a location or by employee unit when you are going to load this. So it's going to, in what I have here, take this credit record and load it to these 2 records. So I go Select Employees, so it's going to show me who they are. And then I get an option to post the credits. And once I click that post, up on the screen up there, it's because of how big I have my screen. There we go. There's those 2 records. I can post those credits and they're in. So that's option number 1 for entering a credit where you have multiple people taking the same credit. I'm going to stop. Any questions about that tool? It's pretty straightforward, and it's exactly like it worked in ERM for those of you that use that tool. Okay, the other option is this, importing credits. So when you do that, you're going to pick a person. Say you had a brand new person. I'm just picking Mary Abbott for the heck of it, but it was a brand new person. And maybe you've already put in 2 or 3 credit records, but now you get this Excel file from another district, and you want to load it into this system. So you don't have to put those 25 credits in. You can use this tool. Now that Excel file has to be a very specific format, which I will show you momentarily. But all you do is pick the name and click Import Credits, and then you're going to browse and get that Excel file and load it. That's as simple as it is. So name, browse and get the file, click Import File. So that is laid out for you on page, let's see where we're at, starting on page 14. Now, what you have in your Word document is this option 2, loading credits for an employee from an Excel file. And this is the layout for the Excel file, but because it's a Word document, I couldn't stretch it all the way out for you. So one thing you'll have to do as an example when you set up your Excel file is you're going to have to add the user ID from our system. But otherwise, you pretty much can take data from another system and populate the data. So you need to get the user ID, and you'll have to get the institution ID so that our system will know what is our ID for that. But it's usually a huge time-saving effort to do it through the Excel file. Now let me show you something that is on all of your systems under Management Resources. You do have that document. That Import Credit Instructions is right here, and it will open up as an Excel file, so it's really the template for that load that you want to do. So now that I've downloaded it, so this is the Importing Credit Instructions. I can actually click and open it, and it's opening on my other screen here, so as soon as it opens, I'll get it over here. Okay. I tried to open it twice. It didn't like it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to bring this over here for you. So this is the exact same layout as in the Word document, but this is the Excel format. So you should keep this as a template, and it will tell you exactly what you have to do. You'll have to put in here the user ID for employee records for this employee and the credit code. You know, maybe the file you got from the other client, the other district, says S for semester. Well, you'd have to put it in as SEM. Start date blank. The end date's going to be in the other document. Put it in. The institution name, institution ID. So go to that institution table, match the name, and put in the ID number. And then from here on down, you're going to be able to copy and paste data out of that other Excel file. So the things that are important that you have to kind of convert are the user ID, the institution ID, and name to match our system. But other than that, you can copy and paste the department, the course number, the course title, the credits, the state, all the way down. You can pretty much copy that. If your other system doesn't use the same course approval code as you do, like they use B and you use 2, change the B's to 2. But other than that, that's what you do. Once you create this Excel file, save it, perhaps with the employee's name, save it. So you have all the instructions on how to do this right here on your site. So once I've created that file, just go to Management, Utilities, and then load that credit. Credits, select the person, browse and get the file, and import the credits. So I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions about that before we finish up the credit tool.
Sherry, I have a question.
Yep.
Now, if you get an actual Excel spreadsheet from another HRM user, do you still have to change all of the Excel, or does it come in the exact same?
Well, the user ID would definitely be different, but your institution IDs are likely to be different. They will be different.
Okay.
Yeah, they definitely will.
So you can't just go from a district who uses HRM to our HRM?
No, you can't because the institution IDs are different. So good question.
Okay.
And do note this, even though you get that file, you still have to have the document, and you still want a proof that they did it right. You know, maybe they entered a college that was not accredited when you don't want to accept that one. So don't accept what they do as a gospel truth. But once you've approved what they sent you, then yes, go ahead. But you will have to do those modifications.
Perfect.
So I'm now going to go ahead and go on to recalculating, which is on page 17 of your handout. So anytime you enter credits, you can go in and recalculate that person just by clicking that little recalculate. But here and with experience that we're going to go over, you can come into utilities and mass recalculate. So you can go recalc totals, and then you would pick like calculated would be for your certificated staff or non-calculated for classified if you wanted to do that. Then pick your employee types, which will be a little bit different than what we have here. And then you can select the year cutoff you want, so 2018. And then you're just going to choose which function from this list and click recalculate. So if you're just wanting to update credits, just click that and recalc. And it'll run and show you how many, and you can get a count ahead of time if you want. Now, if based on those credits you also want to update their placement, you would click placement and do that. So it would change anybody's placement. Or if you want to update the salary, you could update the salary. So you just run these recalcs as you need to, and then recalc, and voila, the system will update their credit totals, their placement, and their salary information. Now, one thing I want to show you real quick, because this is also applicable for experience. Before you do mass recalcs, a lot of people want to know, well, what were people at before I moved them? So you can now use the export information tool, and what you would do is you would come in here and grab either the salary info or the employee work area detail information. I think the salary has the placement on it. I have to remember which one. Because then you can export this out now. Yes, this has the placement on it. So you would export this out before you recalculate, export it out after you recalculate, and then you can do an Excel formula to compare this field in your Excel file. And the formula is simply this. So I'll bring it up for you. I'll just do it on this Excel file I have here. The formula is this. It's just equals exact, and then whatever the cells are, you know, A3 to G3 or whatever it is. What it will do is it will return a true if that is matches, which means they didn't change, and it'll return a false if it was changed. So if that person, after you did the credits, came up as false, then what's going to happen is on the first report, this would be MA0 column step 1, and on the second report, it might be MA45. So it's your false people that would have changed, and you will know immediately who changed. So running this report and then comparing it before and after is a really quick tool and an easy way to find who changed. And that's credits, and I'm ready to go on to experience, but I'll stop and see if you have any questions about credits before we go on. Okay, we're going to go ahead on to the managing experience, which I've sent you that document, so you should have this, and it's in your resource page, so you have that as well. So a lot of what I'll say here will be similar in that we're going to go to management, we're going to go to search, we're going to go ahead and access the experience screen on somebody, and here I'm going to go ahead, I will do a cert and a classified for you so you can see the difference. So here's a cert, Mary Abbott again. And we just go down to the Experience tab. And again, you have in your document handout on page 2 a list of all the fields that you see at the top, which are different. If you're on a non-calculated or classified screen, it doesn't have the total experience the same way because we don't use that for calculating their placement. But on the certificated, it does. So here you have their in-state, out-of-state, cum FTE, if you've exempted FTE, some of you have a custom seniority that you would use that field, the cutoff, and then you have a district FTE. Now, this district FTE will just calculate the FTE that's associated with your district. Now, in saying that, I want to, when we get down to the district table, I'll show you, because you have to make sure that you click the setting in the district table so the system knows which one is your district, and so that it can properly count that. And you may or may not care what that is, but some of you use that for seniority and other reasons. So we do have that there. And again, we have the calculator button, the PDF report button, the export to Excel, and the access over to the district table, just like we had access to the institution table. So let's go ahead and add an experience record so we can look at that. Now, one of the fields here is called experience type. So I am down on, actually I skipped kind of for you the institution table. You know what, before I do this, let me go ahead and explain this and stick with the document I sent you. So I'm going to talk about tables associated with the experience, but I'm going to go ahead and put something in here so you can see it. When I put in a year and select a district, what the system's going to do is it's going to look in the district table. And if the history for that year exists in that table, it will populate the screen for me with what 10FT is. So then I can just modify it if it's not. But if the district's not in the table at all, or if when I select the district it's blank, then I need to do some work in the institution table. Now again, I can access that institution table right from here, or I can go all the way back to, so I'll just do that so you can see it. You can do it from the screen, but you can go look up tables and then go down to the district table. So the information that's here is from whatever came over from ERM, so yours will look a lot different than this, and or it's what you've added since. So you can look here, and again, make sure you look to see if that district is already in. So if you don't find it, you just go add new district, which you could do from the other system as well. Region, and this is all explained on the next page. There's a page that explains all these tables where you add that information. I'm going to go ahead and just say it's my hometown region. You don't have to. That's not a required field. But you're going to put in your district name, blah, blah, blah. If you want, you can record the type, you know, that it's ESA, it's a school, university, whatever. And then you don't need anything here except the state. And then if this is your district and you want to count experience at this district as district FTE, you click this Count FTE button. That's it. And I'm going to go over that again on how to add a district. But what I want to show you is when I come in to Hometown School District and I click this little plus, it's going to show me the history. So we're going to do a little bit of math here. So if I edit a record for a year or add new history, you'll see I put in the year. What the verification of employment is telling me constitutes full-time for a year. So I have that in, and I can save that. So if I need to add new history, I can just go add and add it. But this is the math of the denominator. So in the middle of page 5 on your handout, I have a little math lesson, and we're going to go through that. When you do experience for certificated staff, it's the numerator divided by the denominator, period. So I'm going to bring this back over here again and make this a little bigger for you so you can see that. Okay. So you have a verification of experience verifying that the person, if they worked full-time, was 180 days at 8 hours a day or 1,440 annual hours. That's the denominator, okay? What did that person work? Oh, this is what they worked, 162. So since the hours per day are the same, you could either divide 162 by 180 or take the annual hours, 1,296 divided by 1,440, and you get your equivalent, full-time equivalency, FTE, of 0.90. Numerator, denominator. The denominator, or what constitutes full-time, is what is stored in this district history table. So here's what I see happen sometimes. I go to management, I go to search, And I'm going to put in a record for a new person, so I'm going to pick my little Mary Abbott test person here. And I'm going to say, oh, yeah, Mary used to work for this district back in, let's see what she has. Back in 2009, she worked for a district. So I'll go add district, add work experience, type 1, which is certificated, type 2 is classified. I'm going to put in 2009, and now I'm going to select my district, East Range Public Schools. Notice nothing populated. Okay, so I got my VOE out here, and I put in what it says, 9/2/2009 to 6/13/2010, and then I put in the number of days she worked, 162 at 7 hours a day, and it was a 0.8 or 0.9 FTE. I put that in. Okay, I put in her position, and I put in a contract or unknown. You can select that in your system, and I save it. And it looks at the system, and it says, what happened here with my 2009? It put her in as a full FTE. I don't get that. What happened? Well, here's what happened. If I go to the district table, I just set the denominator as 162 days times 7 instead of 180. So now I'm going to pull up this East Range Public Schools, and look what I did for 2009. I put in, oh, guess what? Was that the one I did? Okay, I apologize. I did a bad example. Let me do this. Oh, 2009 was already in for that district for that year, and I didn't catch it. Talking fast, so let me go back in here again. I'm going to put in experience type 1, year 2007, because I know that doesn't exist. And then East Range Public Schools. Oh, it did exist. Okay, I'm having fun picking a year here. Add a district. I want to find a year that doesn't populate so it comes up, so I apologize. I thought I had that all set up. Let me pick Visiting District 3. Okay, so when I put in Visiting District 3 for 2007 and pick Visiting District 3, nothing populates. So if I were to put that 162 days in here, that's the denominator, and it's wrong. So what you want to do the first time you're putting one in, if you pick the district and it comes up blank, you want to put in that the VOE said what a year started was on 9/2/2007, and it ended on 6/22/2008. But you want to go through and put in what constituted full-time or the denominator, okay? So whatever that was for that district, and you'll put in 1 FTE. You're setting the denominator. And teacher, contract, save, okay? Now that denominator is set, but it's still wrong for her record because she did not work full-time for that year. But I did set the denominator in the history table correctly. So now when I come back, I'll have to click her record a second time, and now I can change her to she only worked 162 days, and the system will calculate that correctly. So if you are ever in the district table and you're wondering why something's not calculating right, and you look at a district and you see that the data for that year is like 3 days or 162 days or something that's not normally a whole year, that's where you have problems because you've set the denominator right. But here I did it correctly, so it came up for 2007. What I added, I need to refresh that. It will come up with the correct denominator. So that's what I wanted to show you is how important it is when you are entering experience. This is the only trick about the whole thing, is that when you add experience, if you either don't find the district, stop and go to the institution table and add it, or once you put that district in, if it appears, fine. If it populates with everything and tells you what full-time is, great. If it doesn't, then the first time that you put this in, because it'll be there forevermore since, you have to put in this screen what constitutes full-time, and then go back and edit it to put in what the person actually worked. So in this case, on your sample, the first time through, you'd put in 180 days at 8 hours, and then you would go back and edit her for 162 days at 8 hours or whatever she happened to work. So I'm going to stop and see if you have questions about that, because this is a cool tool that automatically calculates all of your experience. But if your denominator is wrong, your experience is going to be wrong. Questions? Y'all got it. That's good. It worked the same way in ERM. So, okay. So that's what's important about that institution table and or the district history table. And know that you can go and set up the district table directly in System Manager Lookup Table, or you can do it from here. Either way is okay. I do want to note one thing about the district history table. So I'm going to come back over here to System Manager Lookup Table. There are a few other fields in that table which are on page 6 and 7 of your document. When you add a new district, so I'll just edit this one that does exist down here. I'll edit this hometown school district. There are a few check boxes down here, and I just wanted to explain to you what they are. They'll be important for some of you and not for others. So this OD-OK is for professional development, and it's for districts that allow employees to use the professional development system to approve out-of-district courses for which they get paid or otherwise operate. So not very many of you use that, but that's what that's for. And your table on the top of page 7 in your document where it explains the table explains that. PDS means this district is used in the ProDev system. So for all of you that have ProDev, your district is going to have that checked, and it should stay checked. The co-op would be for the districts that are in the co-op, like Wapato, East Valley, those districts that are in the co-op, they would click that. And then Count FTE, I explained, is where it counts for your district FTE when it totals that. And then again, we have the work area table, so that you want to set that up, and we have the employee default table through page 8 explaining that on your handout. Okay, then in your handout we go on to discussing the adding and editing experience records, which I did go over with you. Again, remember, the big kahuna is if you put in the year and you select the district and it's blank, be sure you put in what constitutes full-time first, save that record, then go back and edit it. Okay, coming down then on the experience, the next thing we're going to take a look at is a classified and a coach, because they're just a little bit different. Credits, they're all the same, but for classified and coach experience, they're different. So let's go back to search here, and we're going to find our little sample employees. So you could obviously find one person. And you can come in here and say, okay, well, I'm going to look at Sally. She's a classified person. So their screen's a little bit different because we don't calculate FTE for classified. So when I come down to Sally here, I can click on non-calculated, and it will show me her experience. Now, this experience, which I'll go over in a minute, will post from the work area records if you maintain those, so you don't have to update it every year. It's just automatically posted. But if you add an experience record, we'll just look at one that's already added here, it's going to come up as a type 2 for a classified or non-calculated. The year, you may now put in the district, the position, the location, the start, the end. You can maintain their salary schedule placement, the hours per day, work days, etc. Some of you maintain this data when, for experience outside of your district, when you grant a classified person experience credit, according to Washington state law, for a like position in another district where it counts for seniority. And so you may, and I know districts that definitely do that, record classified experience other than your district for that purpose, and then you may make a note here, credited with this experience from da-da-da-da-da school district for seniority purposes. So whatever comment you want as well. So this is pretty easy. Nothing calculates, nothing is automated, so you will put in the hours per day, days per year FTE, except that for those of you that maintain the classified work areas, at the end of the year, this all posts and populates over here. There are 3 fields at the top of here. One is seniority FTE, which is custom used for districts that use the system to do seniority records. And if you don't and wish to, you can get in touch with us. Then we have a cum step field. This just tracks when I can see my data is out of whack here because she's worked here 4 years. It keeps track of the number of years of service they've had in my district, and I can just update it like that at any time. But annually, when I post the experience, like when I get ready to post the 2018-19 year, there's a tool that will post the 18-19 and then increment this by 1 and move that up to 5. But you can manually write it any time you want to, and then you just have a cutoff for that cum step. So for the prior year, it should have been 3. And that's as simple as classified experience is. I didn't show you that you can copy a record. Maybe they had 2 different positions in a year, and you can trash can a record. So either way. Any questions on classified experience? Okay, we're going to go on to coaching then. So coaching, I know districts that are using this, and you can just add your coaching experience. So when you go to add it, you just hit the add button, and you'll have this little field where you can track the district it was in, the location, the position, the status, and if they met their rules clinic for the year, if it was a head coach or not, and then comments. It's that simple. We do now, brand new with this last release, have a coaching report here that shows you their experience, so you can click on this and get their coaching report, just like you can click on the classified or the certified and get their experience report as well. So, okay, and it's coming up on my other screen. I'll bring it over. So this is a simple little coaching report. And as with any system in the report, this is their stock report. So if there's something you desire to have modified, there are sometimes custom fees for customizing reports, but you can send us a request for that, and we'll be happy to take a look at it for you. So that's the classified and the coaching, pretty simple. And through the annual update, so I'm now down to page 12 on your handout, what's going to happen for those of you that maintain work area data is you'll be able to go into utilities. This is going to be part of your creating a new year. And you will come in here and click on the experience tab. And on the experience tab, you're going to post your experience. So you can post your calculated or your certificated experience and your non-calculated experience. Choose which work area to post from and go ahead and post that. And we will be having webinars on creating a new year and doing all of this as well, which you would want to attend at that time. And then just like with the credits, you can recalculate. So if you have posted experience in mass for a year, or there's any reason you want to, you can come in here and recalculate the cum FTE and then recalculate placement and salary. So each of these are done separately just because of the volume of records. And for some of you, you have so many records that you'll just do the teacher and then do the certificated specialist separately. But these records, if you were doing it for a whole year, you were doing a brand new year, you would normally do calculated credits. This is your classified credits. So you would do your cert credits, cum FTE, placement, and then salary. And this update P code is used with a new year for the classified people, where it will now move them up a step. So if they were a secretary on step A2, it will move them to A3, and we'll be which ERM didn't ever do. So now we have that in this tool, and we'll cover that with you in the webinar for creating a new year. But that's so that you know at least what it is at that point in time. So that kind of gives you an idea of the experience. So we have covered managing credits, managing experience, and also how to use an Excel file to load credits into the system. I am done with my instructions, so I'm going to open it up for any questions, or if you're done, you can simply say goodbye and hang up and exit the webinar. But it's been a joy having you on board, and as always, be sure to contact our support team if you need any help with anything at all. We love helping you. And we can do individual webinars for your district, too, if there's a reason you need help with that. So thank you, and have a great day.